Something unusual is happening inside the world's biggest tech companies. For years, the most powerful names in technology, Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, relied heavily on the same group of chip suppliers. Companies like Intel, Nvidia, and AMD built the hardware, and big tech built everything on top of it. That relationship defined the industry for decades, but now that model is breaking, because big tech is no longer content with just buying chips. They're building their own. And this shift isn't just a technical decision, it's a strategic one that could reshape the entire tech landscape. To understand why this is happening now, you have to start with what chips have become. They're no longer just components. They're the foundation of everything. Every AI model, every cloud service, every smartphone, every data center, none of it works without massive amounts of computing power. And that computing power depends on chips. But here's the problem. The demand for that power has exploded. Artificial intelligence, in particular, has changed the equation completely. Training and running AI systems requires an enormous amount of processing capability, far beyond what traditional systems were designed for, and that has created a bottleneck. For years, companies could rely on suppliers to meet their needs. But now demand is so high that supply is tight, costs are rising, and access is becoming uncertain. And when your entire business depends on computing power, uncertainty becomes a serious risk. That's the first major reason big tech is building its own chips. Control, relying entirely on external suppliers, means giving up control over one of the most critical parts of your business. You're dependent on their production schedules, their pricing, and their technology roadmap. If they fall behind, you fall behind. If they raise prices, your costs go up. If supply is limited, your growth is constrained. That's not a comfortable position to be in, especially when competition is intensifying. So instead of relying solely on others, big tech is moving to take control of its own hardware destiny. But control is only part of the story. The second major reason is optimization. The chips built by traditional manufacturers are designed to serve a wide range of customers. They're powerful, but they're general purpose. Big tech companies, on the other hand, have very specific needs. Their data centers run massive, highly specialized workloads. Their AI systems require unique architectures. Their software is deeply customized, so instead of using one-size-fits-all chips, they're designing chips that are tailored to their exact use cases. That leads to better performance, greater efficiency, and lower operating costs over time. Even small improvements in efficiency can translate into massive savings when you're operating at global scale. And that's where the real advantage starts to show. Because when you control your own chips, you can optimize the entire system, from hardware to software. This is what's often called full-stack control. It means the same company designs the hardware, builds the software, and runs the infrastructure. And when all of those pieces are aligned, the system becomes faster, more efficient, and more reliable. Apple is one of the clearest examples of this. By designing its own chips, it has been able to tightly integrate hardware and software, delivering performance and efficiency that's difficult for competitors to match. Now, other tech giants are following a similar path, but at an even larger scale, especially in the cloud. Companies like Amazon and Microsoft operate some of the largest data centers in the world. They handle enormous workloads every second, from streaming and storage to AI processing and enterprise software. For them, chips aren't just a component, they're a cost center, a massive one. So if they can design chips that reduce power consumption, improve performance, or handle specific tasks more efficiently, the impact on their bottom line is huge. That's why custom chips are becoming so important. They allow companies to do more with less. Less energy, less hardware, less cost. And that creates a powerful competitive advantage. But there's another reason driving this shift: speed. When companies rely on third-party chip makers, they have to follow someone else's timeline. They wait for new chip releases, adapt to available features, and work within external constraints. But when they design their own chips, they control the pace of innovation. They can build exactly what they need, when they need it. They can iterate faster. And they can align hardware development directly with their software and AI advancements. This creates a much tighter loop between innovation and execution, And in a fast-moving industry, that speed can make all the difference. There's also a strategic layer that goes beyond business operations. Semiconductors have become a global priority. Governments are investing heavily in chip manufacturing. Supply chains are being restructured, and access to advanced chips is increasingly seen as a matter of national importance. This adds another level of urgency for companies, because relying entirely on external supply chains, especially global ones, introduces risk. Geopolitical tensions, trade restrictions, and production disruptions can all impact availability. By building their own chips, companies can reduce some of that risk. They gain more flexibility, more stability, and more independence. But this shift isn't easy. Designing chips is incredibly complex. It requires specialized expertise, significant investment, and years of development. Not every company can do it, and even for those that can, it's a long-term strategy. That's what makes it so important, because the companies that succeed in this transition are building something that's hard to replicate. They're creating a deeper level of control over their technology stack, and that creates a barrier for competitors. It also signals a broader change in how tech companies think. For years, the industry was built on specialization. Some companies made chips, others built software, others provided services. But now those lines are blurring. Big tech is becoming more vertically integrated. They're taking ownership of more parts of the system. Because the more critical a component becomes, the more valuable it is to control it. And right now, chips are as critical as it gets. They power everything, and as AI continues to grow, their importance will only increase. So when you look at this shift, big tech building its own chips, it's not just about hardware. It's about strategy, it's about competition, and ultimately it's about the future of technology. Because in a world driven by computing power, the companies that control the chips are the ones shaping what comes next.